Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Black Buzz. And I hope all is well with you. Oh, let me also say Happy New Year to you. Um, you know, we've transitioned into 2021, and it was a bit. 2020 was a rough outing, but we're hoping that 2021 will be a lot better in a whole bunch of ways. So, of course, you have the team back again. Myself, KP. You have Miss Shay from TB Entertainment, right? Of course, when it comes to music and all things musical, she is somebody that you can connect with and you can touch base with. Lamar is not here. He is our tech person. He's taking care of some personal things right now, but he'll be back. He'll be back, making sure that everything that we have going on here goes well. Tia is not here from T Kicks. If you want your shoes customized or anything like that, she's a person that you can hit up and she'll be glad to set you straight when it comes to that. And we have with us today another guest, special guest, Miss Natacha Pennycooke. And before we get into talking to Miss Natacha, I'm going to read a little bit of her bio. I'm not going to give away everything. I'm going to give her a chance to say some things, right? But let me just read the bio I have here. Natacha Pennycooke is a registered psychotherapist with the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario, CRPO, and owner/operator of Natacha Pennycooke Psychotherapy Services. In her over 10 years of practice as a psychotherapist, speaker, and consultant, shout out to Natacha, her work is guided from an anti-oppressive, healing-focused, trauma-informed, and anti-Black racism lens. You see why she's on here? All right. To unpack and challenge Eurocentric ideologies, systemic oppression, and generational traumas that have been detrimental to racialized communities. She has presented at a number of international and national psychological conferences and is sought after for her expertise on mental health, coping, racial trauma, and healing to speak at various community and corporate events in the Greater Toronto area and beyond. She is a founding member and current vice chair of the Association of Black Psychologists, Toronto chapter, and actively volunteers as the mental health advisor with Keep Six organization. Welcome once again, Natacha. Good to have you on Black Buzz.
It's amazing to be here. Thank you both for having me. This is great.
Man, listen, we're more than happy when we have guests. As it doesn't matter what category, right? We're just happy when we have guests because part of the reason this thing started is as we read your bio, we started as a result of the situation that took place with George Floyd, right? There was a lot of awareness around Blackness, Black consciousness, anti-Black racism, things of that nature. And, we wanted to see what we can do. So, the best thing that we thought of at the time, was, and of course, this team evolved, right? Was to come out with something where we can have a conversation with individuals out there making, a huge impact in the Black community. And so that's how we started. And now you're here, and we're going to talk to you about all the different things that I mentioned in your bio. Before that, though, before you get into what you do and how individuals can connect with you, give us a little bit about your background. I didn't get into your education because I wanted to give you a chance to sort of talk to us about that.
Sure. And I love that you have this platform because I always say our voice is so powerful. So let's use it. And I love that you're doing this Black Buzz too, so we could use our voices and you could connect the community with our voices. So thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. A bit about me, my background. I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And I went to, you know, growing up was particularly difficult. Difficult at home, difficult at school. At home, I was going through a lot of things in my family life. My father was an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff that comes up with being a child of an alcoholic individual. And then also at school, I was often the only little Black girl in a lot of the things that I did, right? So it was um, at school feeling the effects. I mean, back then we didn't have a word for it, but
Mm-hmm.
anti-Black racism, what I call it now. And then at home, feeling like I didn't belong, and all of those things as well. So I think all of that coming together of all that made me very curious about human behavior
Mm-hmm.
and the things that people do, the things that people say, and the reasons why. Right? Always questioning the why this was happening, why people say this, why people decide to do this. So that led me to be very curious about, like I said, human behavior and want to study more. So I did psychology in my undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And even while studying psychology at an undergrad, a lot of the stuff that I was learning was primarily by white professors
Mm-hmm.
and primarily to other white students in a class. So I remember
Right.
being always very curious about culture, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
father's Jamaican and my mother's Barbadian. So
Okay,
culture is
there it is.
always a
There's
big,
that connection.
yes, there it is, right? So always interested in culture, because culture always, it plays a big thing in who we are, from the food to the music to the way we dress to the way we pronounce certain things.
Can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it. No, you can't avoid it. So in school, it was always wondering, where was me? Where was the pieces of me that fit? And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see it from my teachers and things like that. Even though I went on in undergrad to study cultural psychology, I still
Okay.
never saw the culture pieces in what I was learning and who I was learning from. So that led me to want to continue my education in psychology, but to essentially leave Canada to do it.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing, I ended up going to UE, so the University of West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados, and went and did counseling psychology. Now, the interesting thing is, especially being Canadian, being Caribbean Canadian,
Mm-hmm.
we always, and I definitely, let me know if you guys feel this as well, we always talk about back home, going
Mm-hmm.
home, and things like that, right? So for me, going to Barbados felt like, well, my mother's Barbadian, so I'm going home.
Yeah, yeah.
But being in Barbados and learning and studying, I felt like I was still othered because I
Oh,
became known as the Canadian girl,
Yep.
okay, so you're getting
Yep.
right?
experiencing on the other end. Okay.
Other side of it, the other side. So it was still like feeling ostracized, but now being ostracized by people who look like me and
Mm-hmm.
sound like, with the sounds that I'm used to and the flavors that I'm used to smelling and everything. I didn't let that deter me because I loved it. I had the absolute best experience
Mm-hmm.
during my master's time. So I did my undergrad, my master's, all my coursework in Barbados, and then when it was time to do my practical work, where I was going to be basically the psychologist, the student psychologist, and things like that, I had a choice. I actually wanted to return to Montreal because I was starting to feel quite lonely and things like that. But my teacher was like, no, you actually have two choices. You can go to UE in Trinidad, or you can go to UE at Mona campus in Jamaica. So I said, okay, you know what? I have family in Jamaica.
I know where you went. But continue.
Right. I know. Shay's like, oh. Well, I have family in Jamaica, so let me go to Jamaica. And even that was a whole thing because my family in Jamaica, we are not from the city. We
Mhm.
are Hanover country people. So going to Kingston was big. I was like, oh my gosh, my family in Jamaica don't go to Kingston, and here I am going to be
Yeah.
living and working
Yeah.
in Kingston. That was another amazing experience. So I was located at the University Hospital, and I was one of the psychologists working there, student psychologist. And the funny thing is, even though I was scared to go to Jamaica because of Kingston and all the things you hear about living in
Yeah.
Kingston,
Right. Right.
right? I had again the best time, and there was a whole different level of acceptance.
Uh-huh.
right?
Cliche,
Because
it's not a negative thing. Look at
it's
that.
not, no, because
She was
the
there rubbing her
saying,
chin, thinking that it's, no, she's talking about mangoes and ackee and, all of those.
I have been to Jamaica. I know. I've experienced it. Okay.
yes, yes. And out of many, one people, I
That's
was
right.
embraced. People used to say to me, oh, you're Pennycooke. Yeah, you're Jamaican. That's a Jamaican name. Oh, I have family that look like you in this area. I'm like, oh yeah, my family's from that area. So it was
Mhm.
a whole different level.
Right.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun working in Jamaica and also getting an understanding of mental health from a Caribbean standpoint.
Okay.
And that also includes the taboo, the obia, the other things that we are often taught that
You're
goes
get-
along with mental health.
you're dropping some serious bombs. You're gonna debunk it all. I'm guessing you're gonna be deep.
Yes, we have some time, right?
All right.
And it's important for me to say all that because coming back to Montreal and then eventually deciding to move to the Toronto area, all of this I feel has been so important to the work that I do now because working very much from an anti-Black racism standpoint, working with the majority of Afro-Caribbean peoples, there's this understanding that, mental health is something that has a lot of stigma and a lot of taboo around, but people
Right.
are starting to understand a bit more. The thing is, in order to meet people where they are, especially for a mental health aspect, you need to understand the racial and cultural context of peoples. Because all of that race, culture, ethnicity, all impacts who we are, which impacts our mental health and our understanding of mental health.
Well, like I said, you pretty much started, where we were gonna go because when you're dealing with West Indians, when you're dealing with a Black community, and you're talking about mental health, that it's a huge taboo within our families. We may not
have no solution. Drink tea or go to church.
Right.
Right.
Right. I think maybe the general public might be catching on to that now, but we've always known that because we are within the community, right?
Right.
So, okay, so help us to understand your world. I'm not going to claim to know, quite a bit, even though you are our guest, right? I want you to inform us, even we're interviewing you, inform us as well as the general audience in terms of some of these things, helping us to understand where we are. We are dealing it where we're operating in a racialized context, job, just general society, dealing with criminal justice system. Talk to us now. Maybe you can even start from the part where why is it a taboo?
Yeah, so that is a great question.
Yeah.
Right. So why is it taboo? Why is mental health so taboo? You know what I think? Mental health is taboo because we can't see it.
Oh.
We can't see it. I mean, look, God forbid, you fall down outside, you break your leg. You're going to go to the doctor. You're going to go to an emergency room, right? And what are they going to do? They're going to do x-rays, run some tests. If it's broken, you're in a cast, they give you some rules, go home, take care of your cast. And you're going to do it because the doctors have told you to take care of your leg. And if you want it to be healed and fixed, you will follow those rules. The thing is, when it comes to mental health, we can't see if it's broken. We can't see if it's hurt. We can't see if it's injured because we're told not to talk about it. We're told to keep things inside. We're told to pray about it. You're told, right? I love how you said drink tea. It's true. Your belly is hurting. It's probably gas. Drink some tea. Right? It's gas. Drink some tea. But that's it. We're not really told about what to do when we're feeling sad, we're hurt, we're feeling down. We're told, okay, you know what? Go pray or suck it up or get over it. There's bigger things out there to worry about. Right? A lot of times those feelings become minimized. They're not looked at. People don't, they're not validated. And then a lot of times what happens, it becomes stigma then to go and talk about it. So we keep it inside. The shame.
Yeah.
Right? I feel hurt. I went to someone, they said, suck it up or don't worry about it or pray about it. And you're like, okay, I can do all that, but I still feel hurt. And then what happens is that you become shameful because you're feeling hurt. You feel shame.
Right.
And then what happens on top of the shame, you feel guilty because your body's literally trying to tell you something. You're feeling hurt about something, but then now you feel guilty for feeling this way, or feel guilty that you went to someone with this information. And that's how the cycle starts, right? The shame cycle becomes perpetuated and grounded within our community. And I think that it's so important, especially as Black people, as Caribbean people, we have to fundamentally understand where that comes from, where the deal with it, the suck it up comes from. Right? It's not just a today thing. We have to look back over the generations, intergenerationally, and couple of generations back. Because you start thinking back, now you go back to colonialization.
Okay.
Right? Let's go back.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you, like, I mean, I know I can see certain things coming from my mother, then her parents, my father, his father, things of that nature, but I don't know where did this all come from? So
where it comes from and the why, right? Because a lot of times our parents, our grandparents have told us these things as protection.
Right.
Protection in a way that they understand how to protect. Right? But a lot of times our parents never told us why. Children weren't allowed to ask why. Children are seen and not heard. You don't ask why. You don't question. You just do. But the thing is, nowadays, as we grow up and become adults, we don't understand why we tend to do these things. And then you have our children's generation asking the why, and we're confused. We don't know what the why is. And then on top of it, it's like, well, why is this child asking me why in the first place? Right? But if we actually sit in that and go back the generation, so you speak about your grandparents and like grandparents, that's when you start going back to colonialization. And if you looked hurt, if you looked weak, right? I put weak in quotations purposely. But if you look hurt, if you look down, if you look sad, if it looks like something is wrong with you from a colonialization error, what happens? You end up being killed. Right. Not taken care of, not given food, sold off because you're not going to work the land or be useful to the master.
So it's wow. I mean, you've heard so many things coming back from slavery or from when our colonizers were doing all types of things to us, but I think this is the first time, maybe I have, and it didn't register, but I think this is the first time I'm getting a professional actually talking to me about the fact that that's how impactful that colonization was. And it's playing so powerful. It's still playing itself out right now in our community.
We have a famous song saying, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. A lot of people assume it's just physical bondage and, well, I'm not going to work for this person because I don't. But there's so many things, because for me, I tell people this, I'm very open with therapy. I've been to psychologist. I've done it. I enjoy it. To me, it's liberating to get that off of your system. But I know there are people who, I grew up in a household where it's the house business and there's nobody to talk about. And as I've been on my own as an early age, and I realized that to me, that was never normal. But I can never tell my mom that. To her, that's her normal. And I realized that as I got older and I look at my mom and see the things that she's still going through because of mental slavery. Mental slavery doesn't have to be like, oh, I was locked up in the house and I'm in the fields. It has to be with whatever your great grandparents have implanted in you throughout the generation. And I see her, and I know she's gonna see this and she might kill me, but I've always told her, you need to talk to somebody, you need to do something, because if you live with that, and it also explains a lot of the paranoia our parents had. And this is fear of protection. It's paranoia.
Yes.
And I think our parents, I think maybe I'm the youngest person here, but I mean, I grew up in an old school mom who grew up with her grandmother. So the generation down the line, the things that they say and the things that they tell you, as you get older, you realize that's not true. But in their head, that's their gospel truth, and you can't tell them anything else. So as they come down the line, the restrictions and when you choose to break away from it, something's wrong with you. Everybody else is normal because we're talking this, but something's wrong with you because you choose to be the odd one out.
Yes.
Again, in mental slavery, they keep emancipate yourself, but it's go ahead.
It's interesting because with the mental slavery, it's the idea that our thoughts then enslave ourselves, right? And there's so much truth to that. And the fear protection, I love how you've said that fear protection, because that's exactly what it has been. Fear protection going down the lines. The only thing is you recognizing where you are now, today, at this moment, the protection doesn't look the same. Like the same things that maybe your mother or your grandparents or your great grandparents used as protection does not apply today. It may not apply today. And that's okay. Right? It's okay that it doesn't apply today. So it's starting to figure out what does apply for me, what does work for me, where I am today. And I think that's where a lot of us get trapped or stuck because we've been told over and over it has to be this way, this, fit into this cup, this way for my family, and tend to do that and wanting to do that so you can fit with your family, but then recognizing there's pieces of me that doesn't resonate with that anymore.
Yep.
In terms of because we're going back and then coming forward, as that mentality passed on through the years and through the descendants and all these different things, what are some of those negative things aside from the taboo? Don't look weak. What are some of the other things that plays out as well? That's one. And two, how does it play out amongst the sexes? So how do females deal with this as opposed to the males? And is one or it's just general in terms of it's just pain and it's the same?
So let me start with question 2, which will lead into question 1. Okay.
Right.
So in terms of the sexes, genders, whatever you want to call it. So with women, with Black women, I'll start with women. We often see the having to be strong and take care of everyone else.
Okay.
Right? She's like, yes, I've heard this before.
I'm making notes, by the way, because I will be giving a little rundown on my Instagram about Miss Natacha.
All right. Okay, sounds good. Make sure to tag me. Me in that. Right, tag me in that. So yes, with women, we are told, especially Black women, we are told we have to be there and we have to take care of everyone else. Often what that means is you take care of everyone else. You go at the expense of yourself. You're not supposed to.
You went on mute.
You went on mute there. Oh.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right. Right, we're told we're not supposed to be selfish and take care of yourself. You're supposed to give all that and give all that and give all that to other people. But what happens, and you see this time and time again with our aunts and our parents and our grandparents, where you give and give, whether you're working 3 jobs to take care of the family, the kids, the grandkids, the aunts, the nieces, nephews, you give of yourself. And then finally, when you get to the place of retirement, you have all these aches and ailments and sicknesses where you don't get to enjoy anything.
And lots of cortisol in your hips.
Right. Injections here, stress there, all of that. So part of the first question for women, it's that what we do, we take everything on and we just bury up our own stuff because we're told not to be selfish. So you bury your own stuff, whether it's your own hurt, your pain, your sadness, your physical ailments, right? We're told to bury it. And then in the burying of it, it's the idea that, I'm doing this to protect, to be there, to provide for everyone else. But the thing is, you cannot take care of and provide for and be there for everyone else if you're not there to begin with. Right. So this idea, a lot of people are talking about self-care, self-love and things like that. But the idea around that is you need to take care of yourself, make sure you're well, physically, mentally, emotionally well, so you can be there for your children and grandchildren and so on and so forth. Right. And then on the flip side, when we talk about men are told, right, there's this idea of masculinity, so Black masculinity. There's this idea that it's okay to show anger. but it's not okay to show sadness. It's not okay to cry and all these other things, right? There's all these things, right? Man up, don't cry, don't be a sissy, all these things that historically that Black men have heard. So what happens is that you see the things like even the use of alcohol and drugs or fighting and things like that as a way to express the emotion in a way that society deems it's okay to. But if you stop, and those same people who are turning to drugs and alcohol or the physical abuse, you look underneath the anger. Remember, the anger is what's displayed. It doesn't mean it's actually anger. Anger is being displayed so you and me can see it. But what's under it? What have these men been told that they're not allowed to show, that they're keeping inside? Hurt, pain, sadness, not feeling good enough, right? All of this other stuff that's there. So when you speak about how is it shown, this is the way it ends up being shown, right? You have the idea also angry Black women.
Yes,
right? We all hear that. Part of the same thing. You're allowed to show anger.
Yeah.
Because
Tyler Perry made a big name out of that.
Right? Yes.
Mad Black woman.
Exactly. Yeah. But exactly. And you know what? That movie is the perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
She only got the recognition when she showed how angry she was.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, you watch that whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you see sad, hurt, not seen, not validated. She only got the recognition when she showed she was angry.
Right.
So part of it is society has also taught us as women, oh, you can show the anger because that's when you'll get the attention.
Okay.
But if you show the sadness or what we call the vulnerability, you're not going to get the attention. So that's what happens a lot with Black men and Black women.
Funny enough, you said that with the anger is like one of the reasons why I went to see a therapist is because situation happened to me, and from my understanding, I'm supposed to be smashing windows, cursing, flaring up, and I didn't do that. And I went because I thought something was wrong with me.
Look at that.
And that's what I said. I said to him, I think something's wrong with me because in what I've just been through, I'm supposed to be screaming, cussing, and like the typical.
Yes.
But I didn't feel like I had to do that. Yeah. And I just went to him because I'm like, everybody's saying like, you didn't react, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and I'm like, I don't see. So I thought something was generally wrong with me because I didn't have that reaction, and the fact that I didn't react the typical way, I thought I was wrong versus giving society what they wanted. Yes. And then when I went, he said, because you're not angry, you're just disappointed. Yeah. And I'm like, what? This is what happened? He's like, yes, but you're not. He's like, don't associate yourself with stereotypes. He's like, not everybody behaves like that. He's like, you genuinely did not behave like that because that's not who you are. And yes. I went there thinking something's wrong with me. I called her out. I'm wrong. That thing where you said she only got validated when she got angry.
Yes.
And for me, I didn't have that. I didn't want to, and that not becoming that stereotype, I thought I was wrong.
Right. And look how powerful that is, right? This whole idea has been so ingrained in us and for us that we have to be and act and display the feelings in a certain way, right? What your therapist mentioned to you, you're not angry, you're disappointed. It's okay. And a lot of us are not told this. It's okay to feel multiple feelings at the same time. Mm-hmm. You could be angry and disappointed, but your disappointment is a bit larger than your anger. So what you want to do is display disappointment. Even if your anger was larger than your disappointment and you still decided not to kick and scream and throw things, that's okay. Right? The way in which we decide to understand or display our emotions, that ultimately it's our choice. Mm-hmm. And we have to also know our choice is impacted by our culture, our communities, also stereotypes and things like that. Because you were like, well, I'm not throwing things, I'm not burning down this person's car, so something's wrong with me, because that's what Angela Bassett did, and that's what this person did, and that's what we're told to do. I probably just aged myself there.
Okay, we'll entertain his life. Let's just do this.
I'm laughing not necessarily because of, aging yourself. I'm laughing because it's hitting me now how all of these things have been playing out in movies.
Yes.
And it's
yes.
almost as if it's normalizing it in terms of I don't know if the individuals when they're putting these movies together, producers or whoever it is that's involved in it, if they have a psychologist that they consult and in a subliminal type of way they're trying to convey a message about what how society sees us or what we typically portray, but there is something going on deep. Maybe I just didn't process it that way, but you can go movie after movie where you see these type of things being portrayed.
Yes, 100%. And this is why, I mean, we're like shifting into representation here now, right? And this is exactly it. And that's why there's such a, what was it, like Oscar So White? There was all this stuff about the lack of representation.
Right.
Because if you start thinking about the higher up you go in terms of directors and producers and all of these individuals, how, if they don't have an understanding of the race and the culture and the ethnicity, what are they, or even the writers, right? Then what are they writing? How are they writing? How are they portraying these characters based on their own biases, their own stereotypes, or their own things that they've seen on whatever? Right. So it's so important. Representation is important. It reminds me, actually, it's kind of a funny story. Living in Barbados, I have cousins and things like that who are born and raised still living in Barbados. But their understanding of North America was through watching American TV. Right? And a lot of the stuff they had seen was like BET from like in the 80s, like the music videos and things like that, right? In the 90s, the music videos, all that. So it's like I would come to visit and it's like, well, you don't look like what I see on TV about North American girls and things like that. Where's your cars and your money and your clothes and all of this, right? And this is the thing, and this is why representation does matter, because here you are, you're having, TV that's showing and displaying a certain image, a certain picture, and then when we watch it, we assume that is correct or that is it. That's all.
Is that adding to the trauma that Black people have to deal with anyways, or is that additional trauma when you have?
I would say it adds. I say it adds to, and it can be additional, because then here it is. We want representation. We're having representation in terms of, oh, I can watch this. You look like me, but it doesn't adequately and correctly represent me.
Okay.
Right. So it's like, yes, I want to see myself, but I also want to see myself. You know what I mean? I want to see someone that looks like me, and also someone who thinks differently and asks these questions. No, I don't want to see myself only represented in this certain light and this certain frame of reference. I don't want only the stereotypes connected to me and my race and my culture and my background as the only thing that people are aware of.
In terms of we're dealing with a heightened situation right now when it comes to racial injustice, right? Of course, granted, 2020 just left us, and we know what happened with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Tatiana Jeffrey,
Breonna Taylor,
so many, right? With all the different problems that we face with police, courts, judges, prisons, as Black folks, of course, I'm saying Black folks, but usually it's minorities that usually get the brunt of this, not just Black folks, Black and brown people, right? Is that mentality coming, just passing down from the colonizers, just as these bad things passed down to us? Is that mindset also passing on from in terms of dominant culture, or Caucasian folks and how they see us? This was passed on to them, so they're traumatized in a sense as well. I'm just trying to think of how it's playing out still, because I know for sure, you know, when the police officers sometimes see us, they know the angry person. They see the skin color and okay, that's a danger, right? Let's take extra precautions. I mean, what can you say about that in terms of all those things that have been going
Yeah,
on?
so there's a lot there. There's a
Yeah.
lot there. You know, I always say, especially over the summer that's passed, right?
Yeah.
That especially when you look at, I guess, the police system, the criminal justice system, the education system, any institution,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You look at the institutions
Mhm.
and you have to understand the policies and procedures in which they are grounded on.
Okay.
Even here within the Toronto area, you have institutions that even, I mean, in 2020, but now 2021, where there has been issues around the higher up education you go, there's more of you may not see people who look like us, because not to say they're not applying to get in, but there's more of a push
Yeah.
to maybe keep us out.
Right.
Right. So if you think and even in workplaces, you have the higher up you go, CEO levels and things like
Correct.
that, managers or leadership, you may not see as many people like us, but the ones that are doing the frontline work maybe all
Correct.
look like us.
Yeah.
Right. So what you're starting to do is starting to see the hierarchical systems in place. And if it's the people at the top of these systems who are creating the policies and the procedures, then at the top of these systems, the people who don't look like us are not racialized folks, then it's going to be policies and procedures written based on what is known from the people that are occupying those seats.
Yes.
Right. So now when you look at the criminal justice system, it's understanding, why was the criminal justice system created in the first place? And are the policies and procedures based on why it was created in the first place, do they still stand today?
Right.
And if you look back, right, especially through North America and civil rights movement, things like that, and colonialization, the justice system was made to bring back slaves who were fleeing.
Correct.
Right?
I mean,
so that was...
Well, I was gonna say carding. Remember the whole situation.
Yes.
I don't think we have that anymore in Toronto, right? But okay, if the police made the point, or you know, the police or whoever, the government made the point that it's to protect the citizens. Okay, then why is it that black people are the ones who are affected the most? Okay, we have the prisons. Okay, and it's to protect society, make sure you put the bad people away. Then why is the overwhelming representation, or the majority of people in there, why are they black? You know, I just as you said, as you go from institution to institution, or you know, organization to organization, you'll see how the way it came down, it was to keep in check, or to keep in place some of those negative things that we know of in the past.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, if we really want a full systemic change, we have to start changing those policies and procedures in the first place.
Right.
Right. And I know nowadays, especially with the advent of George Floyd's murder and everything else that has happened with the racial injustice over summer 2020, you've seen this push now, right, to include more diversity, inclusion, and equity, and all these catchwords and everything, which is great. It looks great. And that's why I say catchwords. Right? It's great. Good. Get them in there. But who's going to hold them accountable for systemic change?
Exactly.
I was afraid.
That's it.
And that's a good point, because now that things are somewhat subsided.
Right.
You know, Trump is leaving office, or, you know, we have a new administration coming in, then we believe, okay, things are going to get better. Maybe it will. But I think there's a lulling as far as the whole situation is concerned right now. And I don't know how much change we will see. But I guess it's there. We will see. But if we look at it from a historical standpoint, it's sort of, you know, it's still ominous. We're not too certain how this thing will play out.
And that's why there's been all the protest.
You're right.
That is exactly why, because it's like, we've seen this. I remember, I have a memory of was it Rodney King? I think it was Rodney King.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in Montreal. I remember my mom took my sister and I. My sister is 7 years younger, and I have a vivid memory of her being in a carriage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and I remember like being at these protests and things like that, but then also remembering what has just happened, and they look exactly the same. And I
Yes.
say this because here I am. Maybe I was 10 or something like that, right? 10, and then in my late 30s, with everything that has just happened now, right? And I look exactly the same. So
Mhm.
that's like 35 plus years,
Right, right, right.
right? People are upset. You see people enraged. People are
Mm-hmm.
pissed off because it's like, when is the change going to happen? So exactly kind of like how I alluded to with Diary of an Angry Black Woman. She was sad, she was quiet and everything. And then when she got angry, people started to notice. And this
Yeah.
is what has been happening with the rage and the protest. People are upset. We want change. We
Right.
want it now. And why is it taking so long for change to actually happen?
Do you think one of the stumbling blocks for change are the how can I put the old school thinking meant black people? Do you think one of the hardest because the for me when I because once this whole thing came up, I started getting letters from different companies because I was black, and I'm like, why are you apologizing to me? Like, one, why are you apologizing? Two, but then you hear black people saying that, oh, well, yes, they're supposed to, they have to. But what are we, especially the ones with the old school paranoia, what are we doing to teach differences? What are we doing to come out of that stereotype to show? Because as you said, sometimes when it comes to the going up the ladder, many companies when I go in because of my first name, they do not know I'm black until I go in, and many times I go to work and I'm the only one there, the only chocolate drop in the midst of snow, which I that is my statement. But I mean, I'm like, but and the funny enough, I worked in two places where they said you don't behave like a typical black.
Oh, I've gotten that.
So
You don't
my
sound
question
like.
would be, are we going out there and working in these places and giving them the excuses that they have to continue their way of thinking? Or are we going out there to show them, hello, I'm just normal like a regular Joe. There's no differences between you and I. Or am I going up in your office and come and behaving the typical black stereotype for you to continue having that mentality? So when you go out there and you see a black person walking, you grab your purse. Or you feel, oh, immediately that's the N word. Are we could it be that we are the problem?
This is a big question. I
Huge.
don't Huge, yes,
Right.
huge. And I'm going to give an answer, but also there's probably many answers out there
True.
for this huge question, right? Um I don't see that we are necessarily
Okay.
the problem.
Yeah.
I think that we also have to understand, right? Like a lot of things that you said, I've been told that, oh, you don't act black, you don't sound black, right? It's also challenging that. What does acting black and
Look like.
sounding black
Right.
sound like,
Right. Right.
right? And the
Exactly.
thing is, if you have a notion in your mind that acting black and sounding black is something like this, then you need to check your own implicit biases
Right.
towards blackness,
Right.
right?
Oh, snap, snap.
Because it's true. If someone's like, oh, you don't act black, you don't sound black.
Yeah.
Okay, what biases that you have that's telling you, that's informing you that I am not black?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, I live and walk every day as a black woman. So what your stereotypes are, the way you are informed, that's the place where the work needs to be done. Right. And then for us as black people, we have to also understand that because we're raised in this society and educated in this society, some of the stereotypes that we are told about ourselves that we believe.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right? We
Yeah.
have to understand this. We have to do our own unpacking. I had a conversation with a girlfriend today, and I'm like, you know what? Some of us have drank the Kool-Aid. Some of us are still sipping the Kool-Aid.
Right.
We have to understand that we're educated in this society,
Right.
so we believe some of the stuff, even if it's against us, against our family, against our people. So we have to unlearn these things. And this is where the areas of mental health is so important, especially from a racialized standpoint. We have to understand how this is fundamentally impacted the way I see myself, the way I see my world.
The in terms of like, I'm just trying to think of certain things happening right now. Like since George Floyd, for example,
Yes.
we've had is it Casey Goodson Jr. I can't remember his middle name. The young man that was shot because the police officer said in Ohio, the police officer said that he was waving a gun around, right? A former detective, right, was run over by his fellow cops, right? Um, so the trauma continues in terms of having to deal with all these challenges in society. And then of course you just mentioned, and Shay also mentioned it, some black folks buying into the mentality that there's something wrong with us. So you often hear conversations, we tear each other down, you don't do business with black people, you just can't trust your own, and things of that nature. And I've often challenged that notion to say, okay, what makes us, right? Yes, there are negative things a part of um, our culture and who we are, but so everybody else has their thing.
Yeah.
Why is our thing so bad? And just the constant dwelling on these things. So these, would you say that these things are add to the trauma, add to the hurt, add to the difficulties that we're facing? We put on this thing. I don't know what it is. The shield, this rough exterior, whatever it is. I mean, how does it play out in terms of all these things?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's trust,
Okay.
right? Fundamental, it's trust. We do not trust.
Right.
As Black individuals, we do not trust. We have not, um, a lot of times we may not know how to trust
Mm-hmm.
our others. We
Right.
may not know how to trust our families. We may not know how to trust ourselves. It's
Right.
trust.
Right.
Um, you know how I spoke of earlier about going to certain family members and saying, you know what, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling sad, and you're told you're not praying enough and suck it up. We're actually learning that how can I try? I know I feel sad, but
Yeah.
someone's telling me it's not true. How can I trust myself that my feelings are valid? How can I trust that person to go to?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're hearing things around, oh, don't do business with other Black people, or you hear this a lot where like someone within the Black community will open up a store. It's like, oh, I'm not going to shop there.
Up there.
I'm not going to give them money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
Where's the trust? And then also what it is, it's that competition.
Mm-hmm.
I call it internal competition because it's internal within the Black community. There's this competition. And again, where does that come from? Where does this competition between us come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I equate that also back to colonialization, because you had the competition between those who were on the field versus those who were in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you see competition in everything, whether it's from the color of our skin to our hair texture, there's competition. And that competition leads us to not trusting.
Right. Right.
So there's all these issues around trust, based on who I am and who you are. We have to fundamentally allow ourselves to get to a place where I can trust me, and
Mm-hmm.
I can trust me, and I could learn ways that I can trust me enough so I can trust you.
All right. Yeah.
Because as a community, we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to rise together if we don't trust each other.
Right. Right.
We're not. How's that possible?
We are
How
here talking to Miss Natacha Pennycooke. Shay just had your social media information up. You want to pull that back up again, Shay, so we can highlight that, because this is a great conversation. But we also want to know like how individuals can get in touch with you. This is what your website?
So this here, yes. So what you're looking at, this is my website landing page.
Okay.
It may look differently by the time this podcast goes live. So, but
Okay.
this is how it looks right now.
Uh-huh.
On here, you have a little bit about me
Okay.
and some other information. If you're really looking to know more about me, to get a better feel about me, go to my social media, maybe my Instagram. I post maybe 2-3 times a week, let
Okay.
you in a little bit of what's going on. different things that I have coming up. So yeah, definitely you can follow me on Instagram, Natacha Pennycooke Therapy, that's there. Also on Facebook, Natacha Pennycooke Therapy, and LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn at Natacha Pennycooke. So if you're definitely looking, to get in touch with me at the moment, I don't know at this moment, I don't know if it's going to be the same case for when this goes live, but at this moment, for therapy, to work with me one-on-one individual psychotherapy, I have a waiting list right now that I've had to close.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to give my best to those that I work with. So right now my waiting list is closed, but I am offering workshops. I know a lot of different corporations have reached out for me to do different workplace workshops in terms of teaching on mental health or talking about workplace racism. I talk about workplace racism quite a lot too. So if you're looking to get in touch with me, definitely reach out, find me on my different social medias and reach out.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about individual, but you're saying that is closed right now.
At this moment, right now for January, it's closed. It may be open again in March. If this does air in March, it may be opening again. But right now for individual psychotherapy, it's closed at the moment. But definitely reach out to me if you find that what I speak about and the way that I work really resonates with you. Get in touch with me. I will let you know if I have space. If not, I will give you resources to be able to go and find help. Because you know what? I always say, when someone reaches out for help, try to be able to help, especially for a mental health aspect, because within the Black community, we don't trust for someone to say, you know what, I'm reaching out, I need help. They've gotten to that place of, I need help now. Right? So if someone reaches out to me, even if I say, you know what, I don't have space to take you, but here's a resource, here's a community resource that's offering a mental health workshop. Here's another colleague that I work with that may have space in their roster. I'll give you at least one or two different ways to be able to go find help, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to work together and to rise together, is that if we help each other.
Who are your hardest clients? Older, middle age, or younger?
That's a great question.
I think why you gotta do that?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's true. I could tell you my mom would be a terrible client. I tell you that from now. I'd be much easier, so I know. I just have to ask, especially from a Caribbean perspective.
Right.
You just want the tea for gas. That's it. That's what your mom.
She's gonna kill me. It's okay.
Yeah, you put her on spot, right?
No.
I think because I deal a lot with trauma and different emotional trauma, childhood traumas and things like that, the ones that are really hard are the ones that have experienced the deep trauma, deep emotional trauma. Though, it may not be as age level, but it's the intensity of the things that have happened. Right? The intensity. So even if I'm working with someone in their late 20s, early 30s, but they've gone through like from 4, 5, that their whole life has been trauma, whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, constant, then that ends up being a hard person because there's a lot there. There's a lot of what I call the different layers, right? There's a lot of layers of stuff to unpack. Some of my older clients, I love working with them because they're going to tell me straight as it is. This is what I was told. This is what I believe. How are you going to work with me? I'm like, okay, well, why are you here in the first place? Do you fully believe the things that you're telling me that you believe? Or is it you were told to believe them and you're here because you're wondering it doesn't fit anymore, right? So I do like working with some older individuals that we would technically say are stuck in their ways, because then those are the ones that I could really, really challenge on some of those beliefs.
Go ahead.
Sorry. How being a psychotherapist, I know there's a difference between just the regular and the psychotherapist. As you said, you are a mom. How is it easy to leave once you close that door at work? Can you leave it there and then go home?
Or are you always in that mode?
Yeah. You know what? It's so funny. This is a great question as well. I feel like I'm always in in kind of what do you call it? I don't know if I want to say therapy mode,
Yeah.
but because and especially like thinking about a mom, right? You thinking about like the relationship that I understood growing up, and how
Mhm.
do I now build relationship with my little person?
Right.
The way I understood a relation growing up is not the way in which I want to parent, nor how I want my child to understand relationship. So for me, I kind of bring the therapy aspect with me everywhere because it is part and parcel of who I am, because it has helped me to understand fundamentally the core of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a lot of the stuff that I do, I'll do like face charts with my son, where he'll be like crying, throwing a tantrum. I'm like, okay, let's go get our face chart. Let's look at our feelings. What are we feeling today? Right? And I do these things so I could help him to start understanding his feelings at an earlier age, as opposed to him being a teenager and trying to figure out, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling mad, and all this stuff, and he doesn't know what to do with all these feelings because they're too much and too heavy. I try to let him know about these things now. And of course, I'm still human, so there's days when I'm just like, oh, right? Because things are like frustrating, but I also have to understand that he is such a strong personality. And a lot of people say he's like me. I don't know.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know. I don't know about that. But there's times when I'm just like, oh, there's this clash,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes I have to step back because he's trying to be this little person and assert his little life and little control. And there's times when I want him to do what I want him to do, but I have to like step back and be, okay, how can we do this give and take in a way that's still going to build you up while I still set healthy boundaries for you? And that's the hard part. I find that's the hardest part of parenting.
What about individuals? You just spoke about your son, but what about individuals who know your profession? Are they
Yeah.
are they intimidated in terms of saying that you're going to be assessing them rather than having a regular conversation with them, or we're like,
So I get that all the time. Actually, there's one story that fits with that really, really well. I was out with some friends of a friend. So I was out with a friend, and most of the friends were my friend's friend. And my friend said to the group friend, "Oh, this is my friend Natasha. She's a psychotherapist." And automatically, from one individual in particular, like, "Oh, you're assessing me. You're assessing me." And I'm just like, I'm just trying to look at the menu and see what I want to eat, right? but the interesting thing, the more this person started to say it, the more than my therapy radar starts kicking in.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, because clearly now this person is displaying an insecurity that they're worried about me picking up on. What is that?
Yeah.
Right? And then it starts kicking in. And then I'm like, oh, this is what I see a bit of this, about a bit of this. None of that was there before until they're like, you're assessing me. So a lot of times, sometimes our own fears kind of, pulls towards what they're most afraid of.
In the back of my mind, when I was reading your bio, I was thinking about that very same thing coming on here. I was thinking, what's she gonna think about this interview? How is she gonna, how is she assessing us?
Assess away. I have no shame.
But it's funny because people do that, but I have to let people know, and this is why now I'm more comfortable talking openly about my background and my childhood, because it's like, I'm literally the only person in my family who talks about feelings all day.
Yeah.
I'm the only person. Even talking with family, it's like, oh, you're just assessing me, or you're psychoanalyzing, or here comes Natasha with her psychology again. That's something I get all the time.
Oh, one other question, because we're close to the time here. Is this a field, one that I'll attach to, is a field you'd encourage Black folks to get into, number one, and number two, is it a field that you see a lot of Black folks in?
Oh, great questions again. I would definitely encourage Black folks, if you're a person who likes to understand why, if you're a person who likes the nitty gritty about human behaviors and
Right.
things about different feelings and emotions really resonates with you, definitely the psychology field, the field of psychotherapy. And remember, psychology is the study of human behavior, and psychotherapy is like the treatment
Okay.
of human behavior, right? So if this is something that you enjoy doing, definitely I would encourage to go into this field. And it's interesting right now, I'm seeing, I think when I was learning, especially in undergrad, right, I mentioned I had no Black teachers. But the interesting thing now, being in this role, the other side, I am seeing a lot of different professionals, Black, different racialized people, but Black women and Black men who are either psychologists or psychotherapists or clinical social workers who are doing the therapy work, right? The treatment work. So I'm starting to see a lot of people doing that work now. So I would say now there are people doing this work. There are people that you can find, Black therapists. I think you have to also go looking, because what we're told and what we're told and what we see out there, it's people that psychology is attached to a white face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot of people, that resonates and that comes out more, but it's understanding that, I'm out there, there's people like me out there, there are Black women, Black men who are doing the psychotherapy work. They're out there. You might have to look a little bit. You might have to look a little bit, but we're here. I know tons of people, but I'm also in the field, right? So
it's true what you say, associates a white face, because and then also the image that TV gives you. So how does that make you feel? And you're in this dark couch in this dark room, and somebody wearing their glasses down here, and they have a notepad judging you.
Yes, right. Like, I mean, I have my clipboard and I have my pens, and I'll be writing.
So yeah, it's just honestly, I don't tell anybody. I took a leap of faith and did it 7 years ago. I have no regrets. None. I tell people, you need to get it out, and not all the time Caribbean therapy works. That's what I'm going to call it. Caribbean
That's
therapy.
What you're gonna, the drinking tea and going to church.
Pray to, and as I said, nothing's wrong with prayer.
Not at all. Not at all.
There are things put in place. You need to deal with things, and some trauma. And as people from religion, you need to talk about it. If you want to, you have to talk. You have to get it out of your system. It's the only way you can process it. So if you stay and you bury it, tonight it's going to come out in a different way. It's going to manifest in a way you're not going to like at the end of the day. So I thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome. I just want to say one more thing. I have a colleague who does some amazing work, also a Black woman. She's a psychologist. She does a lot of work in terms of mental health and the church.
Okay.
Right? She does a lot of work. And she had an amazing documentary. Oh my goodness. It's called Mental Health is the Church's Business.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes around to different churches showing this, her documentary, and talking about how you can have both, right? You can have the spiritual aspect, you can pray, but also understand that mental health is something that we will need church and faith and spirituality. We also need mental health professionals as well. So it's the idea with her film and documentary and building the awareness that you can have both, right? You can have both, not just one or another, but you can have both. And it is because a lot of Black people, Black women, Black men, older generation are in the church. It's making mental health the church's business.
Right. Well, I mean, there was one segment here that I forgot to mention earlier, that you could give a shout outs to individuals that you wanted to recognize on here. So
I'll give that shout out Dr. Elaine Spencer. Mental health is the church's business.
All right. Okay, folks, we have come to the end of our interview. We were happy to have Miss Natacha Pennycooke with us. Oh my goodness, it was a great conversation. We didn't want it to end. It almost felt like, no, never mind. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, I'm gonna give my shout outs on Instagram for sure, right?
Yes.
And, make sure to hit her up. She's on Facebook, she's on LinkedIn, she's on Instagram. and we just displayed her website.
My website, yep.
Well,
NatachaPennycooke.com.
there we go. Strong Black woman in our community doing it in a big way. All right. So we thank you, Natacha, once again. And we look forward to having
you. Thanks both.
Yes.
Yes, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.